Webcam microphone up close. Webcam microphone up close.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
See, but I have the files. You know, I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? The brain, you know, pistols and frontal slab of choice. I don't know that computers, internet, professional wrestlers, and not just Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the cartoon comes from as long as it's real. It doesn't. It's hard to get real information because seriously, they don't want you to just read these two sources whenever I try to prove out. You know, it's not. If you expect your government to tell you the truth, you're going to sadly disappoint another one of these things.
Dear Lord, what a dirty, dirty old man.
Really? Can't be serious. Is this really how you want things to be? Come on. More hooker, eruptions, eruptions, whatever.
Like Dave Powers kind of.
Really?
Allegedly broadcast live from Pima Region 2, within the borders of the formerly united and currently occupied states of America. We bring you the Ochelli Effect.
I damn sure know I'm an original. We have all these situations. I'd love to know why it takes 50 years, for
that's that.
For a 19-year-old girl to eventually get up to gumption to put these things out.
And we are back live. No, this is not a rebroadcast. This is the Ochelli Effect. I'm Chuck Ochelli, and of course, it is Tuesday night, which means we are talking the Liberty Beacon. I always forget to say the Liberty Beacon, but it is the Liberty Beacon. Anyway, we usually have Roger Landry, but tonight we're not going to do that. We're going to do something a little bit different, and I think Michelle has joined me. You there?
I sure am. Good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back, and congratulations.
Oh, yeah, everybody's heard. Of course, baby boy was born last Sunday, and, it's been an adventure. And yes, Jimmy, I am old and tired. You are correct, sir. But that's all right. He'll be worth it. When I get some sleep, he'll definitely be worth it. But anyway, look, back...
In a couple of years.
Yes. Like I said, we usually have Roger Landry on, and sometimes we have Terry Joyce, and we've had some other people from the Liberty Beacon. But tonight, we have a different kind of guy, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Mr. Barry Prince, who is also the host of a show, and you know what? I always screw up the name of your show, Barry. It's like Fitting the Pieces Together or something like that.
Show's called The Big Puzzle. And that's what life is, the big puzzle set. And all the pieces are coming together right now.
Right, I don't know, we're getting a lot of background noise, Barry. I'm not sure why. Skype has been screwy lately anyway. Give it another shot, though. The Big Puzzle, is that what you said?
Yeah, show's called The Big Puzzle. And I called it that because that's the way I see life right now. It's a bunch of pieces of the puzzle coming together that have been put together a long time ago, and now the picture is coming in front of our face. We can't see it, we're blind.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man. Wow, the Skype is actually holding up. I hope that we are still on the air.
If we say something they don't like, they'll start beeping us, Charles. Guaranteed.
Well, look, if we get too serious, all of a sudden my broadcast will stop. There'll be other noises. Another person speaking another language will bust in. I don't know what else could happen, but let's see how it goes tonight. Oh, boy. So, okay, The Big Puzzle. Now, I know you've done a bunch of shows already, and you're changing networks right now. So, I know we're going to get to it later. We're going to list where they can find everything that you do and everything you have done. But the new network is not quite ready to go yet. Is that right?
It'll be up and running in about, we figure, 10 days from now is what we're targeting. And the schedule is just about full. So I'm looking forward to it. A lot of people are very, very excited about this.
Right, I saw a preview of what some of it looks like. It's actually pretty cool looking. What is the name of the network, though? I forget.
Shake and Wake Radio.
Shake and Wake.
Shake and Wake, yeah.
Nice.
Because we got to shake them and wake them, man. Because a lot of people are becoming aware, but they're just not becoming active. And this is the time in history where we have to become active.
Right. Being aware and being active are not exactly the same thing. I mean, in order to get active in the right direction, you got to be aware, but just being aware is not necessarily enough. I mean, it's enough to bitch about things, that's for sure, but it doesn't do much to change the condition, does it, sir?
Well, you know what, Charles, we have a million things wrong in our world right now, and what I've been focusing lately a lot is on solutions, because people are becoming aware that we are in dire straits as a human race right now. As a planet, we are in dire straits, and they're looking for solutions. And I've really kind of focused my attention lately on solutions, real hardcore solutions that can make incredible changes to this planet. You know, I keep bringing up one phrase in my life that really kind of hits me hard, and it's what we leave for our next generation. Our generation is going to be judged by what we leave for the next generation coming and the generations after them. And right now, Charles and Michelle, we're leaving a big pile of caca. And lately, I've been exposed to some real incredible people that have incredible inventions going on that will absolutely change this world if they can be brought into society in a large scale. And that's where I've been focusing my attention, getting this information out and making people aware that free energy is a reality in our world. I spend a lot of my time, too, Charles, promoting medical marijuana, of course. That is the most incredible plant on this planet and has incredible capabilities to fix the problems that we've already brought onto this planet. So those are a few of the things that I focus a lot of my attention on. Trying to come up with solutions. Like I said, there's a million rabbit holes we can go down, and I go down them, but we have to find solutions, and the solutions aren't going to come from our governments. They're not going to come from our elected officials. They're not going to come from our bankers or the people that are controlling this planet. They have to come within, and that's what we've been trying to do lately.
Have you done any exposés on this free energy stuff? Because, you know, I hear about it, but I never hear a lot of details about it. I mean, maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places, but I mean, have you done shows with people that are working on this stuff directly?
Lots of them. I had Larry Woods on. I've had actually Larry Woods. I've been on with Shiziz, a gentleman named Mr. E, another gentleman named Muddy Mudman. When I say there's literally thousands and thousands of people on this planet right now working on free energy, it wouldn't be an understatement. If you go on YouTube or any search engines and start doing research on free energy, it will absolutely astound you. Spend a couple hours and just go search on YouTube, any other search engine that you can find, and punch in just free energy. And boy, I'll tell you, there's some amazing information out there already. A lot of it is being quashed, a lot of it's being held back, but there is information out there that will get you on the right direction. To make you actually understand that free energy is a reality, that this world is surrounded by energy, that everything that we've done here in the last 100 years, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, has done nothing but detrimental to the planet. And we have to change that. If we want to see a future for this planet, we are going to have to change that. Like I said, those changes, Charles, I don't believe will ever come from government. It has to come from grassroots movements. And that's, like I said, I'm focusing a lot of my attention on that because it's something I feel can really make a change. People have to become knowledgeable. About free energy especially, Charles, it's an amazing, amazing field, buddy. And like I said, anybody that's listening hasn't done a lot of research into it, I urge you to take some time and do a little research.
Yeah, I've been so caught up in the poisons in the planet and the lies being told to us so often that, you know what, it is one of those things where I got a serious blind side. There I go again. I got a serious, blind spot because I'm not looking at those solutions. I'm too busy looking at a lot of things that are wrong. And you know what, I really appreciate that you're bringing this kind of stuff up because this is definitely an area I should look more into. And I think would be a lot more beneficial to the listeners if I brought more of this kind of stuff out. So I appreciate that, actually. And I had no idea that this was what you were going to bring up. But, man, you know, and it is one of those things that would affect just about every single aspect of our lives if we could change the structure of the way energy, the way energy basically weighs us down cost-wise, weighs down the population as a matter of the damage to the environment, the negative impacts to our health, and all these other things. definitely the cleaner and cheaper or free energy would change the game entirely, wouldn't it?
Oh, imagine if I said to you that in the very near future here, and this is going to be exposed overseas because of fear of American government, but if I said to you, information's been given to me, and I honestly believe that this is a reality, that in the very near future that you could spend $5,000 and have a 5 kilowatt generator that will produce all the electricity you need for your house for the next 300 years, and after 300 years you'd have to change the magnets, which would cost you about $800 approximately in today's world. Would that be interesting? Would that be of interest to you? Can you imagine what something like that, a simple statement like that, would do to the power grid corporations? The fact that we would no longer need nuclear power, we would no longer have to dam another river, we'd never have to burn another ounce of coal or oil-fired generators. Everything detrimental to the planet could be brought to a halt overnight, literally. And this information is out there. It is a reality. I am so convinced of this, of the people that are involved, the information that's been passed to me. As a matter of fact, Charles, if you want, I had a little contact there on your page. If you sent him a contact release, I'd pull Larry in for a few minutes and let him tell you about these coils. It will absolutely astound you, the information that's out there right now and what they're doing with these coils. Things about Earth batteries, man. You can set up a configuration of Earth batteries now. I'm getting this information from a gentleman named Shiziz Radio. He is an amazing individual. They have a show every Sunday called the Knights of the Round Table. And every Sunday, 18 to 20 to 25 inventors from around the world get together and share information. The latest thing that one of the gentlemen is working on, and this is going to be absolutely astounding information for people, is that you can stick poles in your backyard, a configuration of Earth batteries in your backyard, and run through a capacitor system. I'm not a scientist. I don't ever pretend to be, and have all the power you need for your house by sticking poles in your ground, in your backyard. Would that be of interest to you? Maybe run a couple wires through from your backyard across the yard and pull amperage right out of the sky. This is stuff that's there. Our whole Earth is surrounded by energy, and what we're doing now is just finding the ways to tap into it. And I'm just appalled at some of the stuff I'm hearing. If you want me to bring Larry in for a few minutes, Charles, he'd love to tell you about it. He's a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear how this works, because I got to be honest with you, I've never really heard of this kind of stuff.
Okay. On the tape there, I sent Larry Wood's contact information. If you send him a request, I'll send him a little message right now and ask him to join the show for 20 minutes. And I was on with him yesterday for 2 hours, and absolutely incredible information was passed out. So if you want me to pull him in for 10 minutes, I'll be glad to do that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I was here to chat. I would rather pass this information on to people listening. And we can chat the rabbit holes later, man. I'd rather talk about something that enlightens me and makes me feel positive towards the future.
If I can ask you a question, while we're doing a little bit of multitasking and bringing him in, I imagine that you live in the north. Well, I live in Texas. I live in the south, and energy is such a huge part of our economy, a part of everything here, because we do have so much oil, and there's so many oil-based jobs. Now, my electric bill is probably one of my highest bills. It averages about $350 to $400 a month year-round. And where I live, the municipality actually owns the electric company. So I pay my city for my electricity. And we actually recently had an issue come up that they are going to charge people with solar panels more per kilowatt hour. They're going to charge them like $2.50 per kilowatt hour. And it's absurd. But what I'm getting at here is, do you think the switching to free energy would affect our economy negatively? Or do you think it would give it the kick in the butt that it really needs?
It would, Michelle, my feelings are that our whole system is based on greed. And what people have to look at, no matter what the financial benefits might be right now to anybody through the use of oil, we have to look at what we're doing to the planet and what we're leaving for our children. And what I say to people is spend a little time on the internet and really start studying the effects of our planet, what we're seeing right now and the changes in our weather. They are beyond anything that I can wrap my mind around. Would it negatively affect our economy? I think it would be the biggest kick in our butt that we've ever had in our life, because our whole thinking our whole concept of life would change. We have to, this is where I try and point people, is that we have to think differently about the way we've been duped, the way we've been brainwashed right from the time that we were children to where we are right now, and what the current condition of our planet is, and what is going to be coming for our children in the next 15 years. And I kind of focus on that, and through that, sure, a lot of people are making money through fracking. A lot of people are selling their mineral rights to the government or fracking rights to the government, and they're getting huge kicks in the arm. I think it's just a distraction to keep us away from really looking at what we should be looking at. If that makes any sense, that was a little bit of a babble.
No, that makes perfect sense, because a lot of things are used as a distraction from the bigger and better. And as we know, I mean, there are huge ties to energy and to the oil fields and to the oil in general from the government. I mean, Halliburton, that's all we got to do is say Halliburton. That's just scratching the surface. But I don't think people realize, because it's definitely not on mainstream media, the dangers of fracking and what it's causing. And I know this because not only do I know from, I don't want to say alternative media, but from truth media, let's go with the real news, we'll go with the real news, that this stuff happens, but not only from that, from people I know. I know so many people that do work in the oil industry and are fracking. I have a friend who just went to Oklahoma and he's fracking, and he said, yeah, there was an earthquake here earlier. Apparently there's lots of earthquakes. There are not supposed to be earthquakes in Oklahoma. There are not supposed to be lots of earthquakes in Oklahoma. And this stuff is happening now. It's not even 15 years from now. It's happening now, and it's being completely brushed under the rug.
Yeah, as far as fracking causing earthquakes, the jury's still out on that. I believe it definitely has an effect on the planet, definitely has an effect on the Earth. But what we are seeing right now, Michelle, is an incredible increase in earthquake activity around this planet that we've never seen before in history. If you just look at the last 4 or 5 years as compared to the last 30 years, the chart, they're going right off the scale. And what we're seeing right now, I believe, on this Earth is some incredible magnetic activity that is causing our fault lines to become very, very active. You're talking about Oklahoma having earthquakes. Well, there's all kinds of places on this planet right now that all of a sudden are experiencing earthquakes in areas that they didn't even know they had fault lines or were capable of producing earthquakes. This has happened quite a bit all over the planet. If you go on the internet and do the research on, there's all kinds of graphs and charts that you can look at on actual earthquake activity, where it's happening, and it really is kind of pretty shocking what's going on right now as far as earthquakes. Same thing with volcanic activity. It's on an all-time high. So the Earth is definitely rumbling right now, Michelle, and fracking, I believe, is just another little needle into the pie. You know what I mean? But I think what we're seeing right now is the Earth doing what it's going to do. Especially, I've also done a lot of research into the effect on the dwarf star that everybody talks about is appearing in our galaxy, and the rings on Jupiter, how they're distorting, and our Earth right now is actually on a wobble. Instead of an actual spin, it's into a situation where the Earth is actually starting to wobble. We're seeing the magnetic poles move at faster and faster rates all the time. It was 167 kilometers that it moved last year, and that rate of movement is accelerating. So we start doing that to the Earth. Boy, oh boy, that old pool of magma that's the center of our core is starting to rock around. We're seeing Yellowstone become very, very active, showing every sign that it wants to let go. We're seeing this all over the planet right now. There's the super volcano down in Indonesia. There's 19 volcanoes right now on alert in Indonesia. We're seeing them go up all over the planet at an accelerated rate. So there's lots of things to be said about that, that's for sure. Hey, I see you were trying to get Larry in here. I hope he can join us for a few minutes.
Yeah, if he's able to join, hopefully. I think we got him now. Mr. Woods?
Hey, Larry. I ambushed you, buddy. Sorry to do this to you, but you know what? Charles invited me into the show. This is Charles Ochelli. Sorry, didn't mean to jump in, Charles. But Charles invited me in today to talk, and we started talking about free energy. And, of course, the first person I could think about was you. And I'd like you, if you wouldn't mind, buddy, taking a little bit of time and explaining to these people what you're doing with your coils. I love hearing about it. And thanks for taking a few minutes if you can, bud.
Sure, I'd love to. for having me by.
And by the way, you're on the Ochelli Effect, which is on UCY.TV radio, so just to let you know. And I really appreciate you coming in, because this is one of those areas that I have very little study into. I have not looked at very much, and I'm really ignorant as to the subject, to be honest with you. So this is going to be really great, sir, and I appreciate your time.
Well, we are only one of a great many people that are currently doing some wonderful things with free energy. Free energy meaning something off the grid, something that does not cost a whole lot to operate, something that is easy to use, something that will save all of your energy needs, will provide for all your energy needs. What we have at present is a unique style of toroidal coil. For those of you who don't know what that means, think of a donut with wire wrapped around it. That's all these are. It's just that our pattern of winding is completely unique to everybody else, and it has shown us some really unique things. A standard electrical formula is 1 volt put through 1 ohm's worth of wire yields 1 volt or 1 amp. 1 ohm through 1 with, let me start again. 1 volt through 1 ohm yields 1 amp. 111. What we've done is put 0.46 ohms worth of wire. We put 1.5 volts through it. A normal, everyday flashlight battery. This is producing 10 amps. With the formula that I just gave you, it should produce 0.69 amps. And we're getting 10 amps out of it. That just will explain a little bit of its capabilities. One of the other things about these coils, the existing type of a coil, when you add a load to it, the voltage drops. When we add a load to these coils, the voltage does not drop. What happens is that the amperage increases slightly, and that increases the magnetic field, which reduces the resistance of the wire. What that means is that it just allows the wire to carry more amperage than it's rated for. Use smaller wire. Installation is cheaper.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Certainly.
That sounds to me like what you're saying is this is a more efficient use and, in fact, an amplification of power, basically, through the configuration of this donut with the wires wrapped around it, as you described it, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right. Exactly. Our goal was to eliminate the eddy currents in a coil. Eddy current is a spot where the magnetic field and electric field do not cross at the proper angles, and that causes heat. The heat causes it to draw more amperage, and when it draws more amperage, it costs you more to operate. A standard transformer these days is only 60% efficient at best. So you're paying 40% more for your power than what you really need to.
Sure.
We've designed a little bit more efficient coil. We can control the magnetic field. In a conductor, the electron exchange, that's what electricity is, electron exchange. That happens on the outer surface of the wire, and that's called skin effect. We have controlled the magnetic field to such an extent that what we have is core effect. That means that all of the electrons are being exchanged in the center of the wire rather than outside the wire. Now that doesn't sound like too much, but that means that we're not projecting a harmful magnetic field from these coils. These coils will not even attract a compass from the outside of them. The only magnetic field is in the exact vortex, and that's the center hole of the donut.
And the immediate result there would be that you need less insulation, and you wouldn't need to wrap things up, so to speak, so much as you do now, right?
Yes, sir, exactly. One of the benefits from this, you can change out all the coils in an MRI machine and replace them with these, and it wouldn't be like getting 120 chest x-rays for one MRI.
Wow.
There are many other benefits to these coils. These coils resonate at whatever frequency that you provide to them, which means that they have perfect pitch. You no longer need the cardboard for a speaker. These coils resonate or vibrate at the proper frequency to produce that sound. The only restriction for volume is size. That's just two of the many, many, many things that these can do. We started out working with a hydrogen company in Indonesia to polarize their electrolyte. Hydrogen is at 107.5 degree angle to oxygen, and if it's polarized, then it's at 180 degrees. Hydrogen molecule, oxygen molecule, hydrogen molecule. When it's at 180 degrees, it separates easier, makes a more efficient, lower amperage hydrogen reclamation system. And they're putting that in cars and scooters and boats and sailing ships over there every day, all day long.
I'm chuckling, Larry, because I think you're really understating the possibilities of implementing these coils in our society. Tell a little bit about this generator that you're working on that will provide 5 kilowatts of power for a house.
Oh, don't think it's
that blows me away.
Well, don't think it's understated, Barry, because I appreciate exactly what he's talking about, and it's actually mind-blowing to me that this can be done.
We're talking about over unity here right now. We're talking about more power coming out than you're putting in, and the implications of that alone would revolutionize this planet. Period.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing already.
And these
wow.
these coils that we're talking about now are power-consuming coils. It takes power to make it work like this. Okay, electrical power at this point. We have designs for a stationary and a stationary magnetic field to go in the hole in these donuts that will accept a magnetic cylinder that, once inserted into this magnetic field, will float and begin rotating up to about between 100 and 300,000 revolutions a minute. That will provide, that high frequency will provide any voltage or amperage that you want to get out of it. Our coils are not 1 or 2 circuit coils. They're all multi-circuit. The smallest number of circuits we have is 6. We have 6, 12, 24, and 48 circuit coils. With coils with this many different circuits on it, you can get an induction coil and a transformer at the same time from the same coil. That means multiple amperages, multiple voltages from the coil. With the center core of magnets, doesn't touch anything. It floats in a magnetic field. Therefore, the only friction is air. These will put out about 5 kilowatts in a unit that would be about a 3-foot cube. They'll be in a Faraday cage so that any magnetic fields that are generated will be captured, and you can reuse that because there's a reclamation circuit on a Faraday cage. When you're protecting yourself from this stuff, you might as well capture it and use it.
Right. It sounds to me like it's perpetually self. I don't know.
Once it starts, it won't stop. The way to turn it off will be shut off a disconnect on the outside of the Faraday cage. But it's not forever. It's not perpetual. There's no such thing as forever. The magnets will wear down, and it'll be a great expense to replace them. It'll be a major project. They only last about 300 or 400 years.
Only 300 or 400 years. Wow.
If we're still using this same technology, now the world
can't make anything that lasts 1,000 years these days, eh, Larry?
Yeah, if it don't last 1,000 years, it ain't worth a hoot.
I'll try and get anything to last a year at this point in time. I mean,
I'm an old man. I don't want to repair anything. I don't want to lubricate anything. I don't want to call a repairman. I want to turn it on and forget it. And that's what we've designed. We have a generating system that will that will continually generate 5 kW, which is enough to run a modest 3-bedroom house in America and 4 or 5 homes in Indonesia, for about $1 a watt. And right now, generators are going between $5 and $10 a watt, depending on how many bells and whistles you have to go with it. Lights and gauges and dials and things.
Right.
Our basic generator is 4 parts: a donut, wire, and 2 different sets of magnets. That's it. We put it in a box.
Now, these magnets he's talking about, Charles, are neodymium magnets. These magnets are so strong now. They've changed the alloys quite a few times here in the last 20, 30 years on them. And now they're creating neodymium magnets that have incredible power, and they don't need electricity to create that power. And that's the difference between electric magnets we were using 30, 40 years ago and what's available now. There's one site that I would send your listeners to is MuellerPower.com. And I've talked with Larry quite a few times about Carmen Mueller and what she's doing. Her father was the original inventor of this energy machine, but he simply came up with an odd-even configuration of magnets on poles, and an incredible amount of power is coming out as to what's being put in. It's a closed circuit now. They're using computers to drive impulse coils. 2 of the coils on the generator are actually impulse coils, and they're hit with a millisecond of electricity that actually spins the generator. The other 15 available coils are picking up power, and it's free.
They gave it a tiny bit of power to start, and it went on by itself.
Exactly, Larry. The way this system is set up now, the way Carmen, like I said, I'm not a scientist. I don't pretend to be one. But she explained it to me in simple terms, is that all they're doing is putting a small millisecond of power into 2 of the coils on the generator. You just visualize 2 wheels opposing each other, one with magnets and one with poles. And what they're doing is putting a millisecond of electricity into 2 of these poles, and they're turning them into driver coils that actually spin the generator. So there's nothing making this thing work. Once it starts working, it just works by itself. It's all in a complete closed system, and it's on computers now, where the computers now are so advanced, they didn't have these 30 years ago when Bill Mueller actually started working on this generator. He got his concept. A lot of his influence came from Tesla, and a lot of influence he was looking at simply a barbaric Ford generator out of a 1920 automobile, where they had 16 magnets opposing 16 poles, and of course you spin it, it makes electricity, but it took more power to spin it than it was creating. So if you eliminate one of those entities from either side, you have an odd-even configuration. No magnet lines up on no pole directly at any time. You can take this thing and spin it with your finger, and it creates a tremendous amount of power. These are just a few of the things that people are working on, Charles. And this one I've seen, I saw a demonstration of this generator 25 years ago, and it absolutely appalled me. And it's great now that Carmen's picked up the ball. I know that she's been in Germany. I think she's still in Germany right now. She's agreed to come on and talk with me in a couple weeks when we get going on our new network. So we'll get Larry and Carmen on for a show, and maybe Mr. E and Muddy Mudman, and get a council going. With a pile of great people involved in this, Charles.
Yeah, I see that. And, you know, Mr. Woods is mind-blowing enough to me.
There are people all over the world involved in this. Minds have been opened. Nothing that we have is new. Nothing is original. Everything is from ancient literature. It's from ancient drawings, from the Hindus to the Emerald tablets, to Solomon math, to pyramid math, to vortex math. All of the things that we've done are from combining all the efforts of realizing what the ancients were really doing They weren't showing us pictures of their gods, although they worshiped them as power, but they were showing us pictures of their devices. Look at the hieroglyphs as pictures of things that work, things that operate. We know how to start the pyramids. We know how to do lead scoutness work and levitation. There are many people working in these fields. It's all over there. YouTube has got a bunch of videos on how to make free energy. Everybody can at least light some of the lights in their house off of solar energy. That'll save you a bunch of power. I'll give you a little hint on saving a whole lot of power that people don't know about. In the United States, the power company has to provide you with enough power. Okay, they don't want brownouts. So what they do is they bill you on a 30-day cycle. So for 15 minutes, the 15 minutes of your highest consumption during that 30-day period is what they have to have available for you. So that's your base charge. If you'll turn every unnecessary thing off in your house, you won't be drawing as much power and don't have prolonged periods of massive usage. It's just that 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, and then you got to avoid that peak over the 30-day period, right? I mean,
right. Yeah. Yeah, the 15 minutes of your highest consumption in a 30-day period is what they have available for you and what they charge you as your base charge. Anything you use over that is a premium.
Wow. Well, I'm still amazed at the idea that perpetual energy can basically be amplified through something that sounds rather simple.
It is. It's extremely simple. What we've got is copper art. That's all. It's just a donut with some copper wire wrapped around it, and it does amazing things. And I've got a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Missouri, and it doesn't mean anything. The knowledge that I had in school told me flat out that this will not work, but it does. It goes against every electrical formula because electrical formulas are two-dimensional. Electricity and magnetism are electricity is three-dimensional and magnetism is five-dimensional. We won't get into that right now. But it's all got to do with the angular relationships of the fields that you produce in these coils. If the magnetic field doesn't cross itself at either 90 degrees or 180 degrees, then you make heat. And heat causes it not to work as well as it can. Also, the iron cores that they put in all these transformers and induction coils, all that does is limit the magnetic field. It will cross-induce, but you can cross-induce with multi-circuits and do away with the iron. The iron limits the magnetic field. What we've done is created a shape and size that will allow the magnetic field to do the most it can do, and we circulate that to amplify the field in the vortex.
Well, the iron cores actually create greater resistance anyway, right? Which means that you end up having power leaching off and then having to be contained or kept from, say, the other circuits or the other wires and whatnot, right?
Exactly. You got to shunt that power off somewhere. And generally what they do is shunt it off to ground. That means that anything that's not being used goes right to ground, which creates a high potential in the earth at the wrong frequency. One other thing about our generators, since they're going to be high frequency anyway, and we're going to have to modulate that frequency, we're going to tune everything to 54 cycles. Everything in the world runs on either 50 cycles or 60 cycles, and that operates at 10% plus or minus. So 54 falls right in that area. What that means is that we will once again be in harmony with nature. 54 times 8 is 432. And that's the frequency of nature. So once again, we will be happy instead of agitated all the time. We will be calm and peaceful and be able to think.
Well, yeah, this does get into the whole thing about the different frequencies that cause different electromagnetic reactions in living things.
Absolutely.
You got my mind all over the place, and I do say, and I think I heard Barry bring it up before, Nikola Tesla. Of course, we never have gotten the complete information out there about what he was working on, but that is one of the guys they often point to when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think he had part of the answer, it looks like to me, but this stuff is amazing, and
frequency is the answer to levitation. Frequency is the answer to bone healing. The proper frequency coming out of one of these generators can heal a broken bone in half the time. The proper frequency put out in a coil that you put in your garden, just a little bitty bifilar pancake coil that you put in your garden, will make your garden grow better. Up to three to 7 times better, depending on how good a gardener you are. It's electrical and magnetic energy is the way to go. We can get off the power grid. We can get the high power lines away from us that will cause the harm and the cancers that they do, or the sterility that they cause. There's so many harmful effects.
Yeah, the fields caused by those overhead high tension lines. That's always been a big concern. And I've often wondered what could we do about that, because it seemed to me as though there was no solution. But I mean, if you're talking about something that can be set, and I know I'm really butchering what you're saying here, but I mean, if you're telling me that you can set it at at that frequency, and we would still have the perpetual generation of power, and it just seems to me to be a win-win situation for everybody except the power companies and the people that control, the fuel industry.
That's what we're here for.
Right. Which is the main reason that we're beginning in a third world country. We're going to provide power to off-grid people first that do not have it. And want it. We're not there to change anybody's religion or way of life or anything. If they want electricity, they can have it. That's it. And once we get the third world powered, then it's really not going to be up to the Western world to say yes or no. They're going to have to fall in line.
And you're doing this in Indonesia first?
Yes, sir. Yeah, our first factory. We've got complete backing by the Indonesian government now.
Cool.
Wow.
Cool. You don't think the rest of the world's going to demand it once this gets down to mainstream, and if it gets out there, Larry, the rest of the world's going to demand it, and that's where the change is going to come. It's kudos to you guys.
We plan on going global next year. Our generators should be online by next year. It's just a matter of getting the money to make the magnetic assemblies for them.
Well, I'd say, boy, just when the world really needs some really strong, hard answers to everything that's going wrong, we have some answers in front of us every day, Larry. And this should spark people's interest, and I hope you all go out there and start looking at some of the videos Larry was talking about on YouTube there, because I've done some surfing, and I've been privileged enough to sit in on the Knights of the Round Table where Larry sits in on Sunday morning, and some of the stuff that gets talked about just absolutely blows my mind. What do you say, Larry? What he's doing with plasma energy. And then you have Muddy doing different stuff. And you got Mr. E doing different stuff. And you got Ryan doing different stuff. They're all doing different things, but they're all focusing on the same objective. And once this all comes together, man, everybody out there is doing a little thing a different way. But boy, when the end result comes out, Larry, it's going to boggle people's minds, because they're all going to support each other in the end.
Exactly. Everybody, all the people that I'm involved with lately know the answers. They know a solution or many solutions, and we're all going we're headed to the same point, but we're all coming from different directions, and it's amazing how many brilliant minds are out there doing this stuff. Guys that are they put Einstein to shame.
Yeah, you know what, Larry, this has totally grabbed my attention here in the last couple of months. Well, you know that, eh? Because, like I said earlier in the show here, like we have a million problems on this planet right now, and people need answers. And boy, you know, when this becomes knowledge in this planet, that this is available, and it's been held back by our governments for so many years, it really is going to change people's way of thinking, especially when we really start seeing the effect of what's happening on the planet now and how that's going to accelerate in the next couple of years, Larry.
Exactly. Not only will plant growth be improved and health be improved, you can ozonate water and purify sewage pure enough to drink immediately. You can create hydrogen, any electrolysis process. It's so amazing what can be done with these things, and yet mainstream wants to put chemicals in stuff or wants to burn something. We're in the atomic age now, and all we make is a hotter fire for steam that they were using 2,000 years ago.
Well, you know that every nuclear power plant ever built wasn't built to produce power. It was built to produce weapons-grade plutonium, but that's another subject we'll get into another day.
It has always, you know what, it has always amazed me. You're breaking up a little bit there, Barry. It has always amazed me how nuclear power is essentially, the practice of boiling water with something very, very dangerous. And I've never found a way to really comprehend in my mind how anyone thought that it was anything but extremely dangerous to deal with. And it's been one of those things, they used to promote it as clean, efficient, and it's really one of the most haphazard, like Wile E. Coyote sounding kind of things I've ever heard of in my life. You're boiling water with a nuclear reaction, so you're unleashing this increase of radioactivity for God knows how long. God knows how you can contain it, and gee, if anything happens like an earthquake, tsunami, Fukushima, release, whatever, any of that stuff happens, then you poison everything within a huge radius and possibly the whole planet. Kind of madness to me.
Sure is, and every one of them is on the ring of fire. Fukushima is putting out nanoparticles now, Black Death nanoparticles that you breathe in, they get into your lungs, they cause lung cancer. It's a terrible thing, and that's circulating around the world in the jet stream. We are almost completely covered everywhere with it now.
Well, but
see the effect on our health.
But Mr. Woods, it's only been going on for 3 years. I mean,
Yeah.
And it's only
that one's still burning straight down too. I'm looking for that to get to the magma layer and see what happens there.
Yeah, boom. There goes Japan. You know what? Nuclear power to me is absolute insanity. And the fact that they built most of these nuclear power plants in direct proximity to fault lines around this planet just boggles my mind. I cannot begin to see any rationale in nuclear power at all. It is going to be the end of life on this planet if we don't eliminate it, because we're seeing the effect of Fukushima. One reactor that's gone south. Sure, it was a series of 5 General Electric Mark V, the worst design made to man, but 8 of those are operating right now in the center of the United States in close proximity to the San Madre fault line. 2 on the west coast in close proximity to the San Andreas. It's insanity, guys. We're seeing the effects of one, and we're sitting on time bombs. And the whole realm of nuclear power, my feelings are that if this generation doesn't wake up to it in mass and demand the end to it and find some way of shutting these things down and safely disposing of this waste, it will be the downfall of the planet. We're looking at what's going on right now in the Pacific Ocean. We're looking at the effects of the nuclear waste they dumped in the Atlantic 25, 30 years ago. It boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. There is no sanity to it. I just hope the young people on this planet and people can wake up to it and just scream, because it will be the downfall of life on this planet. That's the way I see it. We've gone through extinction events in history before where we've had asteroids hit the planet. We've had supervolcanoes go off and cover the Earth with 1 foot or 2 foot or 3 foot of ash and cause nuclear winter. But Earth has always come back. It has survived. Life has come back. But life has never had to deal with the amount of nuclear fallout that can happen if we start seeing some of these super volcanoes going off, some of these major fault lines shifting. Everyone on the planet is showing its indication that it's going to. We're playing with fire, man. It's a touching time bomb. It's insanity. It drives me nuts, guys. I don't see a future for the human race unless we eliminate nuclear power. That's the end of my rant. Shut up.
No, it's
nuclear power, buddy.
No, look, it's okay, and I appreciate that because I'm glad to hear that somebody else sees the same thing I do. The one guarantee we have here, but just from my very basic understanding of plate tectonics, is that these things are going to move. They're not going to remain stationary. The other thing is that volcanoes erupt eventually. I mean, I don't know, again, I'm not a scientist, but it appears to me as though, this is true, right? I mean, the insanity of nuclear power, it's something I can't even wrap my mind around. How this was even a remotely good idea. I know I made a joke about it being a Wile E. Coyote style, but I mean, you think about it, you're talking about a cartoon character that would strap himself to a rocket to try and catch a bird. This is about the level of sanity we're talking about with these plants, though.
It's going to take a worldwide awakening and a worldwide voice to put a stop to it. Like you said, and we know the corporations, we know the governments will not stop going down the path they're on right now. But all we can do is try and bring people's rationale to the point where they ask themselves the same question. What kind of legacy is going to be left on this planet if we continue to go down the path we are right now? It has to change. It has to. We have no choice. Man, I'll tell you, Charles, every time I get a chance to get guys on like Larry, it just brings my soul right up to a point where I feel that here's answers, that real hardcore answers we can put in front of people. And it's always a pleasure to have him on and share his thoughts.
This is wonderful. Is there any way, do you have a YouTube channel yourself, Mr. Woods, or a place where people can find you?
No, absolutely not, because the government already knows where I'm at and messes with my equipment all the time anyway. We will begin next year being public once we get our generators on the market. But until that point, we're trying to at least stay a little bit concealed. We're not letting out any of our designs. We've got one little video that shows the test results that only an engineer could understand, or would be easier for an engineer to understand. With a 6-circuit coil, there's over 100 different ways you can hook it up, and we went through every one of them on this video. So it would be confusing to lay people. But we were simply demonstrating the no voltage drop with load and things like that, the multiple amperages and voltages. But we try to stay at least a little bit under the radar.
No, I can appreciate that.
But they're listening to us right now, so we're definitely on the radar. How you doing tonight, guys? By the way, you guys, the TSA and NSA and CIA, FBI. I always make a point of saying hello to them when I get on the radio. Always. Hope your day's going well.
Yes, we do have to thank our listeners at the NSA. After all, they do make this program possible.
Hey, that's what makes up 50% of my listeners.
They haven't believed it, and I can't believe it.
Wouldn't have as good a rating without them.
That's
what do you think about all this, Michelle? Not to change the conversations, but she hasn't had a chance to say anything for a while.
Yeah, Michelle's been kind of quiet. You still there? She's probably muted up or something. Maybe her Skype is screwed up. I don't know, but I find this whole concept amazing. I got to tell you, and Mr. Woods, I hope you do keep in touch with me. I got to thank Barry again for bringing you to my attention, yes, and my listeners, because this is the kind of thing that I would have never looked at, and I'm very, very happy that you brought this to us, Barry, and Mr. Woods. This is some amazing stuff. I really want to learn more and see more about this, so I can't wait to hear how it goes in Indonesia.
I'm sure it's going to go real well. When we made our presentation to the university, they started out shaking their head no, and when we ended, they were all shaking their head yes. And that led us to the government, and the government went nuts. The Minister of Standards over there is going to use us as a standardization for their electrical systems.
Wow. Watch out, guys. This is going to blow people away. I feel it and I know it. We've got... This is so cool to hear this information and be able to tell people and get a little bit of brain power going here tonight and getting people's minds going in a thought of what could happen to this planet. If this is really true, if there's any credence to what's being said here, the implications on our human race for the next 50, 60 years would just boggle your mind. And,
without your power bill, you'd at least have enough money to eat well.
Yeah, that's the starter. I was just going to say that, just for starters, you're talking about a serious financial burden completely lifted off of you. Let's just imagine that we introduce this into a region of this country. It would absolutely change the whole financial view of that particular area. If you no longer had to spend your money continuously on this, inefficient power grid that does exist now, that would change things immensely. To be able to charge, and plus, what I'm hearing here is that you could charge all kinds of different batteries, and probably there's a totally different battery structure he's got here too. That
if you're using these as input coils, you can charge your batteries. That's what we're working on right now, is finishing up a coil that will provide the electrolysis for a hydrogen system at the same time that it's charging the battery that's providing the electricity for that system.
I mean, talk about revolutionary. This would change the entire game.
Charles, this would be a way, and it will be the way that we can take a big chunk out of the cog, being dependent on the power corporations and the government. What you can do with power, just power your house. You can set up an aquaponic systems in your house. For the power of, say, 2 light bulbs, you can run pumps through a fish pond and take that fish poop and cycle it through food or vegetation growing in a 10 by 10 foot room in your house, and provide your house with all the vegetables and all the fresh fish that your family needs to eat 24/7, and have stuff left over for your neighbors, and have your kids go out in the fish pond every night and catch their supper, and pull up a couple fine ripened tomatoes and a couple fine ripened cucumbers and slice them up, put them on a bed of rice. You're self-sufficient. There again, you're taking a huge piece out of the cog. Everything I look at and think about now is a ways to attack the system, because the system won't come down by itself. We have to find ways to take pieces, small pieces out of that cog. Stop going to corporations. Don't support corporations in any form, any shape, any power. It's something that I've done now. It's something that everybody did. It's only a tiny little piece. But if you take all those tiny million little pieces and put them together, all of a sudden you've got a big piece. I'm always trying to find solutions. And boy, since I met Larry and these guys, I am just grabbing this and running with it, man. Every time I get a chance to talk about this, get people to spend an hour looking on the internet and taking a look at what's going on, especially that one link I said earlier to your listeners. Go to muirpower.com. That'll get your mind going, and there's 1,000 links off that site you can go to. So, kudos to you, Larry.
With a simple earth battery in your backyard, you can power your house off of 4 coils. 2 to boost the voltage and 2 to boost the amperage. And you're done. That's off the earth. The earth is negative, the sky is positive, and we and everything on the earth are capacitors storing the charge.
So listeners, go have a look at that. How would you like to power your house off out a bunch of rods stuck in your backyard? Would that be interest to you? Holy smokes, Larry.
4 ground rods in your backyard will provide you all the power you need. There's solutions out there. Everybody's got a solution. There are millions of them. We are just a tiny little spot on a great big ball, and everybody's working toward the center.
I'm just amazed at this kind of stuff. I have heard, tell of this type of thing before, But to actually hear somebody explain it, I mean, I know you gave me a very basic explanation, and I appreciate that because, you know, I'm not one of these guys who's a practical scientist, let's just say, and understands all of these things. But I could understand it the way you were explaining it. You know, obviously I don't know how it's designed, how it really works, or anything else. But I mean, if everything you're saying is entirely accurate, it is mind-bending to me. It really is.
Revolutionized the world.
As to everybody that we've demonstrated this system to, a lot of people are working toward the same designs that we've got, but very few of them take into account the angular relationship, and that is perfectly explained in vortex math and in pyramid math, so there should be no reason that people are getting it wrong. I think maybe some of the guys don't have a deep enough background in electricity to understand what it's really doing. I'm fortunate in that account, as I've worked with it all my life. But there are a lot of people out there that are very close to the same conclusions that we've come to, that are very close to achieving way over unity. Most of them now get a few milliamps over unity, more out than in, and that's over unity, and that's good stuff. But you can light an LED with it, or a few LEDs with it, and that's all. With our equipment, you can power your house. You can take this 3-foot cube, throw it in your trunk, and go camping and have all the power you could want.
Well, I want one, Larry.
Me too.
I think everybody in the world needs one of these, period. Boy, the faster it comes, the faster it'll happen. And all I can say again, man, keep at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if you could sort of, and I really appreciate the fact that you were sort of ambushed by Barry here, and I know I've been asking a lot of questions, and I appreciate your patience with me. But here's the thing I'm wondering. Could you explain to the listeners what the difference is between the 2-dimensional and the 3-dimensional math? Because I know that that's something that's very key here.
Absolutely. 2-dimensional math thinks that electricity flows through the wire in one direction, and that it creates a magnetic field that goes out 90 degrees to that electrical field. Well, that's fine, but that's 2 dimensions. They don't add into it the magnitude of the magnetic field. The magnitude of the magnetic field is what's happening, and in our power, it's switching from positive to negative all the time. What we've done is, through design, we have made all of the power flow in the same direction. We've made all of the magnetic field flow in the same direction. Any eddy currents that are in imperfections in our winding, because we have to do it by hand, and some of them have a little gap between them, and some of them are too close, and minor defaults that would cause an eddy current are captured because of the way it's structured. And that in itself is what's made our whole thing work.
So when it deviates from the exact angle, what happens is you have something behind it to capture it, so that it's not being wasted, or it doesn't become hazardous, or doesn't have to be simply ground out, like sent to a rod in the ground, and all like that. It's actually being captured and repurposed.
Exactly. An eddy current is where the flow in the river is trapped behind a rock and slows down and swirls and doesn't do anything. We've captured all those, and we make them do something. We carry them with us and circulate them in the ring of the toroidal shape of the donut.
That's just too. I mean, with my basic understanding of this, it's just amazing to me. Listen, Mr. Woods, I really do appreciate all your time, and I know we've kept you here for a bit. And I'm sorry, Barry, I was going to sit and talk to you a lot, but I'm telling you, this is amazing.
Charles, I'd rather get this information out. Like I said, I can go down the rabbit holes anytime. I find myself spending less time going down the rabbit holes now, and more and more time studying free energy. I'm always on the internet studying links every day about medical marijuana around the world, the effects of that, detoxification of nuclear contaminated soil. Just read a major report on that released by a group of scientists in Japan. What hemp can do to this planet combined with free energy, we could see a future for the planet, but it has to be implemented wide scale in our society, and that, like I said earlier, is going to have to come from the grassroots. Just getting this information out is more important to me today than going down the rabbit holes, Charles, because we've gone down them 1,000 times. There's not a lot we can do about a lot of the power structure to be, but we can take little pieces out of it. And here we're sitting talking about a huge piece that can be taken out of that huge corporation.
Yeah, this would be extremely damaging to so many corporate concerns. I mean, you talk about a win-win situation. Where you have energy that's not being wasted, you have energy that's being amplified, you have energy that essentially costs you nothing after you install it. You have magnetic harmony with the planet, which is something that has been completely ignored by all of these other structures that have come before. And at the same time, we also get to punish all those people that are making all that money off of us.
Exactly. So it sounds like a no-brainer to me, guys.
Well,
that's what I see.
We have an in-depth understanding of Ed Lees-Gallin's work. We know how levitation works. We know how to restart the pyramids to provide a worldwide power grid. It's time that the world united and made free energy become public property, so that everybody can understand that it works, can see how to do it. Once we get on the market, we're going to have kits. If you want to make our stuff yourself, it'll be cheap enough that you can buy a kit to do it if you've got the patience to wind the coil. And if you don't have the patience to wind the coil, we'll wind it for you, and you can buy the rest of the stuff.
You mentioned the pyramids a couple of times now. It's probably been about 2 years, but I sat and read a very long piece and watched some videos about turning on some of those pyramids a couple of years ago. And
it's an easy thing.
Yeah, well, pretty much it seemed like one of them at least is just add water. If they filled the chamber with water, it would actually set one of those machines in motion, right?
Well, sort of. You're talking about the big pyramid on Giza, right?
Yes.
That has an aquifer under it, and as water moves through the soil and moves through the rock, it generates electricity. Up from that big room 170 feet below the pyramid is another room that was stored full of Baghdad batteries. Those batteries can be in series or parallel, however they want them, to boost the amperage or the voltage or both. All of the tunnels that connect all of the pyramid and the pyramid complex are made out of high silicone granite. That is electrically conductive. In the temple at Karnak, they show you the light bulb. It's just like carrying a fluorescent tube under a high power line. It will light up. All you got to do is hold on to it. You're providing the ground for it. This electrical conduit, the tunnels that were electrically conductive, went up into the Queen's chamber, which could have been filled with anything, including urine, for electrolysis. That went up through the viewing chamber. There are 22 slots in the top and the bottom of the Grand Gallery. And in the Grand Gallery, those were tuning rods, tuning forks that made the 5 stones on top of the King's chamber resonate at the proper frequency. Those stones on top of the King's chamber are perfect on 3 sides, and the top of them is pitted and big chunks out of it and drilled holes in it. Those are for tuning those stones to the exact frequency that they wanted. Once that system is set going, and you've got to replace the calcite stone on the outside of the pyramid to keep the electrical field inside the pyramid. That goes up that focuses it all up through the apex of the pyramid, which on top had a ring, a toroidal coil that the pyramid capstone sat on. The capstone was a projecting stone, and that was gold.
And now all that's really required here is to sort of re-insulate it and turn the thing on, basically, right?
Re-insulated, it'll turn itself on when you fill the Queen's chamber and put the resonating bars in. What we don't know is what frequency the Grand Gallery resonated at. That with the hydrogen or whatever gas that was produced in the Queen's chamber flowing past those reeds, that's what produced the frequency that made the whole pyramid work for teleportation, communication, whatever it may have been. And all the obelisks in the area are simply Tesla charging stations. The point is a lightning rod collecting the energy that the pyramid is projecting. You take your Ankh there and recharge it. You take the horse head and ground it and put it in the Ankh, and it makes the Ankh work. That's your portable power supply. This is all real. This has all been done. The ancients knew much, much, much more than we give them credit for. Worship was spelled wrong in the Greek translation. It's supposed to be spelled W-O-R-K-S-H-I-P. Worship. The priests went to the temple to work. The priests were the electricians, the scientists, the plumbers, the carpenters. Those were priests. The priests held the knowledge. And when conquering heroes came in and burned the temples and burned all their knowledge because it was contrary to their gods, all that stuff got lost. And that's what we have been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. The conquering hero rewrites the books.
And usually destroys the evidence of what he conquered or what came before him. What
was considered false knowledge or sacrilege.
This is amazing stuff. You know, I meant to cover something like this, but I really needed someone to come on with me and discuss it. This is amazing, and I'm so glad that you have this knowledge as well, because I only again have a very basic understanding of what's going on over there, and have been over some of these things. Wow, Barry, you went over all this with Mr. Woods before, I bet, huh?
No, actually, Larry comes up with stuff that blows me away every time I get on the air with him. Just when I thought I heard a few of his intellectual thoughts, he comes up with more. So a lot of this is new to me. How he remembers all that stuff, I don't know.
There's a pyramid in Bosnia that's been shooting out a beam for a while now. I think it's finally turned off, but it shot out a beam that you could see that went straight up out of the apex of the pyramid.
Well, you know, I have argued...
asking to be turned on.
I bet you that you know exactly what I'm talking about here. I've tried to explain to people that there are actually these structures all over the planet, actually, and not just limited to the Middle East. We have some in Central America and South America that also have some functions that I think are misunderstood as well.
And the United States and Canada.
Was just going for those too. There are
China
structures.
And Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every continent, in fact, every continent that has land and seems to have been inhabited has these structures in it in one way or another. They're in various forms of disrepair at this point, but the ancients' knowledge was far beyond where we're at right now.
Well,
you know, when it comes to these things.
With astroarchaeology, that may not be the word. When they position the stars to align correctly with the pyramids, that's over 25,000 years ago, not 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, like they're trying to make us believe. What we learned in school is not correct.
Right.
We've been compounding on theories that were wrong and bad ideas for many, many years, and it's time that we let the inventors that have free thinking start thinking.
Wow. This is amazing stuff. I'll tell you, I'm totally dumbfounded at this point, Barry. what do
Sorry
you
to do that to you, Charles. I knew this would kind of open a few avenues in your brain.
No, I love it because I have studied some of this stuff, and I've had friends that are very much involved with the study of Egypt and the pyramids there. Some of them don't agree with me that there are various structures all over the place that are interchangeable. That if you do line up, like Mr. Woods was just saying, if you sort of understand that where these pyramids are laid out has something to do with the astrological position of various heavenly bodies, and you back it up a bit according to what we understand about the movement of those bodies, you'll understand that these things were all positioned in exactly the right place for the right reason, and that actually these are things that modern man, so-called modern man, does not fully understand yet. Apparently Mr. Woods has a greater understanding of this than I do, or than anyone I've ever heard about it, because he's putting together a lot of pieces here that I've seen laid out one way or another. But I'm really grateful that you're doing this with us, Mr. Woods.
It's my honor. I babble too much.
I haven't heard you babble yet, sir.
No, it's all good babble, Larry.
Now, there's so much knowledge that's been right in front of our eyes forever. Now, when I look at a picture, a Hindu yantra, the thing that they look at to meditate, I don't see something to meditate on. I see a coil design. I see motors. When I look at pyramid complexes, I see computer circuit boards. Those pyramid complexes are perfect computer circuit boards. Some of them are for a high energy furnace. It's amazing. Some of them are charging circuits. An aerial view of the Mayan sites, an aerial view of the Egyptian sites. On the 133 line, straight down south of the Great Pyramids in Giza is another pyramid in South Africa. Due north of that is another pyramid in Europe. It's amazing. The Earth has magnetic ley lines, and if you'll follow these ley lines all around the Earth, every single intersection of every ley line has got some sort of an ancient structure on it.
Huh. Pretty fascinating, that's for sure. Doesn't sound like a coincidence to me. But
no, and these are supposed.
I've never done enough research into it, Larry, to be able to voice an opinion on it. But
well, the amazing part to me is that these are often considered totally disparate cultures that could have had no way to have any contact with one another, that were supposedly occurred during completely different periods in history, where one culture entirely dies out or one religion entirely dies out, etc., and these structures are left behind. But what is interesting is that all of these things across the culture barriers, across the water, where people were not even supposed to know people existed, we're given to the idea that people thought the entire world was flat, things like this. The fact is that these things are all connected very, very well.
There's a piece of 400 million year old rock with finely made brass watch gears in it. 400 million years old. Man has been on this planet, prospered, and disappeared many, 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 many times.
Mm-hmm. This is part of my belief as well. Like people often point to the burning of the Library of Alexandria. I think that was probably one of the burnings of the libraries of Alexandria, basically. It may have been called something else, but I think over time, the powers that be have continuously repressed and suppressed much of the greater knowledge of mankind. And then again, we also probably faced these extinction level events, like you were talking about before, about the volcanoes that have come, the different, asteroids that have likely struck the planet and everything else. But amazing how that knowledge continues to resurface and recycle. It's almost as if we're continuously running on the high and low points of the wheel of knowledge, let's just say, And this is not a high point. Everybody thinks that this is a great technological era, but I think that in reality it's much more limited than we would like to believe.
It is. The ancients knew many more things than we knew. They knew how to heal electrically. Even the Native Americans had magnetite with iron bars piled in different locations all around, healing zones. If you feel bad, if you've got a toothache, you go and sit with the magnetite, put the steel rod on your tooth and touch it to the magnetite rock, and it takes the pain away. There's so much knowledge that has been overlooked or suppressed from even our recent ancestors. The Hopi talk about the people, the ant people that came up out of the ground and saved them from the last great disaster. Now, you can take it as a legend and not really true, but why would that be part of their culture for all these years? The people in South Africa, the Dogon, that know exactly where the planet is in Orion's belt that we couldn't even see until a couple of years ago. The knowledge is there. It's been there. It's being preserved by some of the ancient things. The Kabbalah has got the knowledge in it. King Solomon's books, other than just the book that's in the Bible, has got a lot of this in it. It's everywhere. The Emerald Tablets, my goodness, read the Emerald Tablets. Every single story that's in the Bible is from the Emerald Tablets. All of the religions are from the Emerald Tablets in one way or another.
And they all seem to possess the very same story elements. You have your Savior. I mean, this is very basic, of course, what I'm going to say here, but you have your Savior. You have a rising sun, which goes into a state of non-movement for 3 days, and then returns to rise again after 3 days. You have resurrection throughout most of these stories, and there are religions that are only now like really fragments in our literature at this point that have not been fully understood or fully allowed to be consumed by the world. I mean, but just looking at the Christian faith alone, almost all of those stories, almost every single one of them, in fact, is something that existed with the Emerald Tablets and in other places prior to. I mean, the story of Gilgamesh, the story of Horus, of course, but what we understand of it. I would not even say that we have a full grasp of the Egyptian religions, let's just say. Nor do we really have a complete appreciation for what was the Roman religions, what were the Greek religions prior to. I mean, yes, we all know about the generally accepted set of gods and where they all sat and how they were very similar to one another and all that. But to really understand the nuances of that, I don't think is something that has really come to light in our era.
Well, just think about it. If we were visited by another race and we didn't know anything about space flight and all that, we would think that they were gods, and the god of electricity, the god of plumbing, the god of agriculture, with a little g. The Bible says have no other gods before me. That means that there's a lot of other gods, folks. He's just the number one God. Doesn't matter whether you call them spirits or angels or helpers or what. There's one guy that runs it and a whole bunch of helpers.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were aliens and one of them was the foreman and all the rest of them had little specific areas of knowledge, they would be like gods.
This is absolutely true, and they would have come from the sky, and this explains a whole lot of things, actually, if you think about it, because, the visitation from other places, the description of fantastic places where things are much better. I mean, obviously, if they had a greater amount of knowledge than the lesser developed people that were here, and they were passing it along, I mean, this would be like being given divine knowledge. And that makes a whole lot of sense. I don't know, Barry, have we lost you there?
No, I'm just sitting here listening. I'm just going to reserve comment on that right now.
There's knowledge everywhere. I'm not trying to be anti-religion because everybody needs something to believe in. But to believe that we are the only intelligent race in the universe is the most ludicrous thing that I can think of.
It's mathematically silly to begin with.
Absolutely. It's mathematically impossible.
I agree with you, Larry. I mean, when you take into consideration the size of the universe that we can't even find the end to, there's got to be intelligent life out there. We're just a speck of dust.
That's right. And the universe, everything is electric, magnetic, and it vibrates. Everything. Everything. From a photon all the way to the entire universe vibrates. And that makes it electrical and magnetic. Therefore, all of the energy that we need is free, is available, is there waiting to happen for us. All we've got to do is collect it.
Amazing. I got to tell you guys, I know we've gone into a lot of different directions here, and I really appreciate your time, Mr. Woods. I totally did not expect to have you on. I would have put out a couple of words about this. I really hope people pick this up further downstream, because this is a whole lot more interesting than what I was posting about it or what I was trying to tell people about it before the show. Because this has gone into a lot of different directions, and it is extremely instructive to me to always try to maintain an open mind, to try and examine what is in front of me, and not necessarily to shut my eyes to things that seem a bit far-fetched. I mean, if you would have told me during a time when I wasn't so awake or aware that there was the possibility of free energy, and and that you got to consider that there were many technologies that existed long before now and everything else. To be honest with you, I might have been extremely resistant. But trying to keep an open mind about all of this, and I really hope to learn. Do you have any suggestions for people to learn about what we've been talking about here for the past little while, Larry?
There are a lot of YouTube videos. Just Google free energy or search free energy on YouTube. There are little magnetic devices that you can put a battery and a piece of wire together and a magnet, and it'll spin around and around in a circle, something to entertain you with, all the way up to devices that will power your house. There are magnetic drive motors already on the market. A Searle engine is good. This Mueller engine is very, very good. The answers are there. The answers are there. They're on the internet. Sometimes you sort of got to weed out the weirdos from the folks that really know what's going on. But there's not many of the folks out there that are publishing that haven't been debunked if they're not real.
Mr. Woods, I was actually going to ask you something, and that you kind of segued into it. I know we talked a lot about free energy for the home and for sustaining and a house life. How does that transfer to transportation?
I'm glad you asked. Electric vehicles, forever powered simply by turning the wheels. You have a capacitor bank. Excuse me. You set up a capacitor bank in the trunk of the car or in the engine compartment. You put one of our coils around each axle. Put a set of magnets on every axle. The capacitor system will get the car rolling. Once the car starts rolling, each axle will generate more power to provide power back into the capacitor bank. What this does is it'll let you drive your car to work or wherever you have to go and come home and plug your car into your house and let your car charge the capacitor system at your house. That's just another way to have free energy.
Why are the auto manufacturers using regenerative braking rather than your method? Why do that? Because regenerative braking doesn't even fully work. They only use regenerative braking in hybrids. And then the ones that we do, the vehicles that we do have that don't utilize gasoline are plug-in models, and even still, they hold a very small charge, and they can't go more than 80 miles a day. Why aren't they embracing it?
And the batteries that they put in them are extremely expensive and have to be replaced every 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. If you replace that with these space-age capacitors that do not blow up, then you're done. Generate your own power on board. Do away with the system that I just told you about. Make it a total electric engine, total electricity to turn your car. Put one of our generators in it. It'll go for 300 years.
The sky's the limit.
Airplanes, cars, boats, anything, literally anything, any propulsion system, spaceships, rocket ships, we can open the wormholes that are in our upper atmosphere magnetically now. All we've got to do is get a vehicle to get there. These things are real. This technology will get us to Andromeda in the next 5 years if the financing is available.
So do you think that they're not utilizing this technology for profit, so we remain dependent upon them?
Our black ops are using this technology right now, and that's why we do not want to go public. There are too many military applications. We have a magnetic drive spacecraft already. Our government has already gone to Mars, physically, people-wise. We've got a colony on the dark side of the moon. There's most of the extraterrestrial UFOs that we're seeing are made by us. This supersonic triangle of lights that they're seeing, that's our blimp. Our supersonic blimp is many of those sightings. We've got a blimp now that hovers, of course, and has the magnetic drive system on it so that when it leaves, it goes faster than sound almost instantly. There's no inertia once you're inside the magnetic field. Schauberger gave us the design that we're using for a magnetic vortex drive engine. That's a four coil system. 2 of them create a high magnetic field behind you. 2 of them create a high magnetic field in front of you. By increasing the field or decreasing in front of you. By increasing the field behind you and decreasing the field in front of you, you fall into a magnetic hole. That's vortex drive. And that's a reality. This is I'm sure the kind of a system that they're using.
Now,
we know how to do it. I'm sure the government has been doing it for many years.
Yeah, I'm very sure that they've worked on a lot of these designs, and this is probably the propulsion that's being used on a lot of those secret sort of missions that are going on. It makes perfect sense, and besides, if you're going to make an investment, you usually want to pay off, and that's one thing that the government usually does. I'm going to just tell people right now that the phones are open, by the way. It's 718-717-8296. If you want to join me on this, this totally went into a different direction than I planned on, but I'm really, really grateful again to Barry Prince. And, we're going to have to redo this show with you, Barry, because I'm going to do one just on you, but I'm sorry, Mr. Woods has me totally enthralled here.
Not a problem, my friend. Glad to be able to bring Larry in and let him share some of his knowledge with us.
Oh, and he's got a ton of it. I'm amazed that he's been all over. I hate to keep using that word, but I really am. It has been enlightening and interesting, and even in the, like I said, in the very basic way that I can understand this stuff, it's just eye-opening. So really, again, I appreciate it.
Not a problem. I've enjoyed being here. And like I said, anytime I get a chance to talk free energy, being the limited knowledge I have of it, and bring somebody in like Larry that really can explain to you what's going on and the impacts of, I just fantasize the impacts and I visualize the impacts of what we're talking about and how it can change our planet. And boy, I'll tell you, it is something that everybody should really start taking a good hard look at, because I believe, I think of it this way, Charles, if half of what Larry is telling me right now is true, it would revolutionize this planet. If 25% of what he's telling me is true, it would revolutionize this planet. If 100% of what he's telling me right now is true, the sky is the limit. It would definitely change life as we know it. And I don't see a more important time in history right now than these changes being brought in.
No, this is certainly the appropriate time for this sort of revolution of reality, basically, because this would change so many different things. And like you said, even if, and I'm certainly not saying that any of what you're saying isn't true, Mr. Woods, I'm just saying that he is correct when he does say that even if half of it is true, you're talking about so many revolutionary possibilities. The entire world could be changed in a matter of a few years, basically. And it would not look the same. It would not be this continuously feeding upon itself, cannibalizing itself, systematic, destruction of people. I mean, just changing the electromagnetic field and changing the frequency at which we are dealing with our electrical grid would improve life in such a way. I don't think people understand that fully, exactly what that means. But I, even though I can't explain it, I do understand what you're saying.
The world is at 440 now, and that is not in harmony with nature. That frequency keeps us agitated, keeps us upset, keeps us distracted. It's time to move away.
Absolutely.
We all can do our part. If you know how to do something, get the neighborhood kids involved. Show them what you're doing. Let them participate if they want to. Share what knowledge you have. If you can make a fire without matches, teach the neighborhood kids to do it. Hitler said, if I have your children until they're 8 years old, they will be Nazis the rest of their lives. The first 8 years are when you're going to make your kid. Show them joy. Show them beauty. Teach them that the sunrise and sunset is a beautiful thing. Let them enjoy nature. Let them enjoy doing something that you know how to do that you can teach them. Make it fun for the kids, and they'll want to learn.
And practical knowledge as well. This is one of the things that that I'm striving to do with mine, and I really wish I had more to offer them, honestly. But trying to teach them, ways that they can feed themselves, ways that they can participate in nature as opposed to dominating it. Teaching them how to grow some things like this. again, I'm very limited on it, but even in the smallest way, if you contribute to the younger generation, you are changing the future.
Just like you, your children will remember all the time that they have had with you because they love you and they want to know what you know. Just like you know what your father knew. We're all in this together. We're going to build a better world. It's going to be an easy thing to do. Everybody go out and enlighten one new individual at least once a week. One new person. Open their eyes. Let them know that what's in the books isn't the entire story. Let them know that there are new ways. There is free energy out there. There are ways to do things that the government will never tell you. And we can all do it. We just got to band together and start answering questions. Start questioning answers. Do your own research. Study. Make something yourself. Don't just regurgitate something that someone else has done. Carry their research farther.
Visualize the world in a couple of years, Larry, if the young people of this planet grab this concept of free energy and all these young minds start exploring the possibilities and getting their minds out of the iPhones, turning off the TV. TV, boy, that's the best thing you can do. Turn that thing off, throw it out the door.
Yep.
Once you can do that, man, the chain is off. What a manipulation by the mainstream to control the way we think and conceive of our world.
Yep. Spend at least 20 minutes a day barefoot in the yard to retune your body to the earth.
I've just added a caller in. Let's see, 360. You're on.
This is the Desert Hawk.
Oh, hello, Desert Hawk. I kind of was hoping you would call.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Who's your guest again?
Well, actually, I have Barry Prince and Larry Woods. Mr. Woods is the individual who's been talking about the energy and the subject that probably you want to hit on, sir.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Woods. Yes, hello, Mr. Woods.
Hello.
Tip my hat to you. I've been working on similar stuff for quite a while. But it seems like an uphill battle.
It is. Are you making coils?
Well, I worked with magnets for probably 8 to 12 years on and off. I switched over to crystal batteries due to financing and simplicity.
Excellent. You making graphene now?
Say again?
Are you making graphene for your crystal?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But as far as I can tell, they work as good as I need them to work. Or as far as anybody else would.
Yeah, really, and they last a long, long time.
Yeah, some people claim they last 2 years, not anywhere near your 300 years, but the one I have, or the series, I've made like a dozen of them, and apparently they've lasted over 5 months so far. But,
you can expect to get years of life out of them.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. But I think it's great that these subjects are coming up on an open forum. I mean, it seems like they're hard to find.
They really are. The world is waking up, and it's people like you that are doing experiments and making things happen that's going to make it better for everybody. Please keep up the work.
Well, thank you.
We've got to all stick together with this. If there's any way that I can help out, any questions that maybe I could answer, I'll be glad to help.
Well, I just figure I'd stay in touch with you guys, just report progress of each of our projects, and maybe things will get better.
Once we let folks know that it's a real thing, I think more people will get with us and either help us out or at least support the idea.
Well, let's hope so. What you were saying about the Egyptian pyramids and the way they line up, if you match them up to, 15,000 to 20,000 years ago, before the polar shift, they line up. They do line up. And, that's evident.
I think that would be the only thing that would keep them from being a communication system now, is because they don't point to the right place.
Yeah, that's a tricky subject. There's different viewpoints on what the purpose of those pyramids were. The best I can come up with is either a power source or a weapon, or both.
Well, yeah, they were both. They were a communication source, a power source, and I hate to say this on radio, but I really believe that they were a teleportation source.
Who knows?
I think that the big sarcophagus in the king's chamber was to teleport whatever from one reality to another, whether it was across a dimension or across the universe.
Well, they seem to be very interested in that Orion star system, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there was just recently another chamber found above the king's chamber that it was through one of those little 10-inch square air columns. They found a room. They busted down they drilled a hole through a block to get into one room and shoved a camera in it, and there was a cat-headed human.
Okay,
that was completely mummified. It was completely mummified, and a gold orb that was floating above the ground.
Okay, I heard something. It might not be the same thing, but didn't they find a statue? It was like a cat.
It wasn't a statue. It was a mummy.
Okay, totally different then.
Yeah, this was a real mummy that was still in good shape. That was standing guard. And he had a cat's head out, and the orb is still floating in the magnetic field.
Wow, I hadn't heard about that.
Now that was a real interesting video I watched on that.
Well, hey, I'm going to jump off here, and maybe somebody else will jump in. Mr. Ochelli, good show, good guest.
Yeah, it was kind of an impromptu thing. Thank you, Hawk.
You bet. Bye.
Bye-bye. He calls himself Desert Hawk. He's a guy who's in the chat room on my network a lot, and he talks about exactly this kind of stuff, Larry. So I was really kind of hoping he was going to call in and ask you and talk to you a little bit.
I really want to encourage all of the inventors, the scientists, whatever you want to call them out there, all you guys that have projects going, don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. You're going to have people say, oh, that's neat, I'll give you all the money in the world, and it'll never happen. Don't lose faith. Keep up your work. Keep scrimping and saving and doing it little bits of a time at a time if you have to, but don't give up. You're all doing wonderful things. You're all doing things that's going to make a big difference to the world. Please keep the faith. You will succeed. People will see you. They will recognize your worth.
And I was also very glad to hear you talking about encouraging the youth as well. This is something that we all have to do one way or another to try and teach them that the government-run sort of re-education camps that are schools at this point are not teaching them the whole truth. They may be teaching them part of it, but definitely not the whole truth. And in many cases, they're teaching them a lot of lies. And it's one of those things that we have to combat and try and get these kids to think for themselves, get them to look at the world around them instead of accepting the story about the world around them that is being presented to them. So I'm very glad that you hit upon that subject. Again, Barry, I'm very sorry. I've just kind of run with Mr. Woods here, but...
It's all good, man. It's not a problem. I'm enjoying the conversation.
But, Barry, this is really awesome. I'm so glad you brought him on. And again, I appreciate all your time, sir. I know I'm taking up a lot of it. We've only got about 10 minutes left, just so you know. But I'm just amazed and thrilled by all this. So, thank you again, sir.
I really appreciate you letting me have some time today. I really enjoy spreading the word about this. It's not just our product. We've got something I think is really special, but I'm prejudiced. Everybody out there can make a positive contribution in one way or another. That's all we got to do. That's all we got to do. Do what you do best. Show somebody how to do what you do best. Share your individual knowledge. Everybody in the world knows something that I don't know, and I want to know what it is. We need to instill that in all of our children.
The thirst for knowledge and the desire to make the world a better place, these are absolutely the traits that I hope to pass along to mine, and I hope that somehow or other my show and the efforts of all the people that are out there trying to honestly do what it is we're doing, Barry, the wonderful people at the Liberty Beacon, by the way, which this is usually the Liberty Beacon night on my radio show, and it's kind of become the Larry Woods show right now, but that's okay. This is amazing. No, this is great. I'm thrilled. This has been really instructional and encouraging to me. To be honest with you, I got a good feeling just after listening to you and understanding, just part of what you're talking about. And I'm excited. I want to learn more myself. I'm sure, Barry, you encountered the same thing, right?
Well, of course, Charles, and I'm probably safe in saying that Larry would be glad to join you again sometime and share some more knowledge and get this word out again. What we talked about tonight can't be talked about enough. To get him on again in a couple of weeks and let him share this again, I'm sure that a few listeners out there tonight have had some light bulbs turned on in their brains, and I just hope that one or two of them will go do a little bit of research and go look at what we've talked about tonight, because it is life-changing information. We're talking about planet-changing information, and something that we can do positive to have a real impact in the future for our children. And that's our responsibility, guys. We've got to look ourselves in the mirror every day and ask yourself what you've done today to ensure some kind of future for the children. And this is something we can really grab and run with. So kudos to you again, Larry. I always love talking with you, and I love hearing what you have to say, my friend.
It's always fun.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to have you on again, Mr. Woods, for 2 full hours if you have the time sometime. Please stay in contact with me, though. I definitely want to hear what happens in Indonesia. I would love to hear more about your view of history, which is very similar to mine, although it's a little bit outside of the mainstream at this point, huh?
Yeah.
And the fact that there were ancient cultures which understood the heavens and the earth much better than we do is something that I would love to just do an entire focused show on as well.
I'd be happy to.
So I'm just telling you now, you have an open invitation on any air that I'm editorially in control of, because I've really enjoyed listening to you, sir, and I'm just tripping over myself trying to figure out a way to thank you just for coming on, because it wasn't expected, and just out of nowhere, basically, we had this conversation, and it's just been so enlightening and really given me a positive feel here. Which I wasn't expecting. I was kind of tired after a long day today, and had barely gotten myself together to get on the air. And I was just hoping to have kind of a casual conversation with Barry. But what I've had here is a revolutionary sort of emotional experience. Actually, I got some hopeful vibes happening at the moment, which is something that I don't often talk about. I don't often say, and that's really a gift that I've got to thank both of you guys for.
Let's hope we've had the same effect on a few of your listeners tonight, Charles. And if we've had the same effect on a few of them, well, my friend, we've had a very, very good day, haven't we?
Absolutely.
You and I were saying the same words.
I say when I get on with Larry, He has a few different views on history than I do, but his efforts right now in exposing free energy to the planet, anytime I get a chance, I've ambushed him here a couple times in the last 3 weeks, and the fact that he's more willing to come on anytime and talk about this, I thank him for. I'm going to use every means at my resource to get this information out to as many people as I can, because like I said tonight, I'm sure we've turned on a few light bulbs in a few people's minds, and boy, there isn't a more important time in history than right now then these changes have to come. And here's one that we can just grab and run. We didn't even talk about medical tonight, Charles, and like I said, I'd love to get back on with you and spend the show talking just about the hemp plant and the implications that can have on the human race. So maybe sometime in the future I can join you again and we can talk about that. But,
yeah, absolutely. I was hoping that we would get into that tonight, but then again, I didn't expect, and but it's been great.
Ambush the show. You did it again, Larry. Ambush the show.
Yeah, I know. I go in and babble all the whole time.
And all I can say to you guys is thank you, because I appreciate this ambush.
It's always fun to spread the word, and we're in a power revolution right now. We're in an intellectual revolution. People are waking up. The world is becoming aware. There are many, many solutions out there. Many solutions. Just do a little research.
Well, I want to get that. The website is the Mueller that you were talking about, Barry. Mueller Energy, something like that.
The one that people can go to as a real quick search is called MuellerPower.com. And on that website, you'll see a history on Bill Mueller and when he started working on these generators. And like I said, his daughter now, Carmen, has picked up the ball and is really running with it hard. They are getting tremendous results out of that generator. And it is documented black and white results. It's just like so many other free energy inventions right now that can be validated by hard scientific proof, that the mainstream media and the corporate powers to be and the evil guys behind the curtains are going to do everything in their power to hold back from us. But the more we talk about it, the more we get this exposed. I'm sure, Charles, you'll go do some research now, because we've definitely turned on some light bulbs in your brain tonight. And Michelle, you'll probably go do some research, and I'm sure a few of your listeners will. And to me, like I said, guys, that's a great day.
And is there any place on the internet that you'd like to point us to, Mr. Woods? Just anything that you think is important for people to see, or a web page or anything like that?
Not specifically. I've got a web page that I do, or a Facebook page that I post a little bit of science and a whole lot of Larry on. That's Larry B. Woods 146, or Larry Woods 146 on Facebook. But other than that, no, just free energy will get you there in YouTube. Look at them. There are over Unity devices. There are new coils. Some of the coils will kill you. Some of them will heat your house. Some of them are good. They all do different things.
Wow. Okay. And Barry, you're going to be starting on that new network. I just got like a couple of minutes left, so I just wanted to make sure we got that out there. I guess you can just search for Barry Prince and Puzzle. What was it again?
The Big Puzzle?
Yeah, the Big Puzzle. I've actually got a couple of videos on YouTube from my shows 3 or 4 months ago. I had Rick Simpson on one of my shows. We all know Rick Simpson, have heard of him. I've done quite a few shows with Roger Landry. I've had Dr. David Bruce Allen on. He's world renowned for his research into the effect of the cannabinoid in the human body. I've had a few other doctors on and some real cool individuals. So if you do research on YouTube, you'll just punch in Barry Prince and Big Puzzle. You'll see some of my previous videos. And the new network will be up and running in 10 days, and it's Shake and Wake Radio. We have a website up already, and you can search that on Facebook or on any search engine, shakeandwakeradio.com. And you'll have a look at the guests that are going to be appearing on the network. I'm not trying to promote the network.
Oh,
there, Charles, but,
we just ran out of time. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening. The Ochelli Effect on UCY.TV radio. Bye-bye now.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was
See, but I have the files. You know, I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things.
I said to myself,
how can that be possible? The brain, you know, chemicals and fondle slab of choice. I don't know when that was. It doesn't really matter. Internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the information comes from as long as it's real. It doesn't. It's hard to get real information because seriously, they don't want you to have